Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at Venom, issue 25, legacy number 190. I have the fourth printing, which means they just got lazy with the cover and threw some panels on there from the main book, so cover's a little more action-packed than usual for some reason. This issue was written by Donny Cates, pencils by Mark Bagley, Andy Owens on inks, Frank Martin color artist, VC's Clayton Cowles letterer, assistant editor was Danny Cates, Devin Lewis editor. Now there is a backup story written by David Micheline, Ron Lim pencils, JP Mayer inker, Erick Arciniega color artist, VC's Clayton Cowles letterer. The main story is basically a summation of events leading up to where we're at in the series. So it goes over Absolute Carnage real quick, and the War of the Realms crossovers, and then some of the stuff about Null. And Absolute Carnage seems to be mainly the focus, but we do finally get a summation of how Eddie got off the island and what happened there, and how Dylan was a large player in that. Overall, it's a very padded storyline. About the first half of that story could have been ditched because it could have been summed up significantly quicker. Instead, it's just a bunch of panels of Eddie's face as he blathers on. It's a very padded, bloviated section that really didn't need to be there, but it was okay beyond that. The backup story is a flashback story to when Eddie was on the island the first time and thought that he had killed Spider-Man, and he runs into some arms dealers and kills them all. The backup story, I think, was pretty weak. It was okay, but the art wasn't that good, and it looked rushed and sounded kind of rushed. Definitely not Dave Micheline's best work, or Ron Lim's for that matter. So overall, is this worth $6? No, not even close. The fight scene with the Tyrannosaurus and the Carnage symbiote was okay, but there's so much fluff in the beginning of this story. You could seriously cut out 4 or 5 pages. Plus, there's no footnoting, so you don't know Absolute Carnage or War of the Realms or anything like that are never directly mentioned by name. So there's no footnotes to tell you this was a miniseries or what issues this occurred in. So if you're using this as a jumping on point, it's a terrible, terrible spot. And while Sleeper's in here and he does do a few things, they don't even identify him by name, I don't think. So there were just a lot of large panels with a lot of fluffy sections in there, which has become kind of a trait of modern Marvel. When you want to look like you have more comic than you do, you create larger panels and pad out the story with a lot of talking, usually over food. And this suffers from that quite heavily. This was overpriced at $6 because while there are extra pages, you could have cut out the backup story and about 5 or 6 pages, probably up to 8 of the main story. That would have brought it down to a regular comic, probably a little shorter. I would say as a wrap up to what had already gone on in the series, it was okay as an end cap, but it was just too much blathering. If the editor had properly done their job, they would have trimmed a lot of this out and stopped with the attempt at a cash grab of a couple extra bucks. Also, the paper quality is really trash, so it's not worth in any respect the price. The art is good in the first story. The backup looked kind of rushed and a little bit lazy overall. So a lot of negatives here, but if you were reading the Venom Island storyline, you'll probably want to read this to find out how it ends. But it was a little predictable, and it took a long time to get to it. So I'm really losing faith in the series with books like this. Last issue was a little weaker than some of the others too, but this one's a slap in the face for $6. It is not worth that. So if you're reading this storyline, get it in trade or get it cheap. There's no reason to pay anywhere near $6 for this. That's gonna do it for this one. Thank you so much for listening and supporting it. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. If you'd like to help the channel out in other ways, links are in the description to various support methods. And as always, we hope to see you on the next one.